I'm gonna guess it's probably Tuesday. Let me see what it said. I think it said the 26th. Let me see what it says.
Well, it shouldn't be on Andor as well because that'd be.
They're supposed to be really short episodes, so they might be. And I don't know if they're dropping all of them at once. Let's see.
I don't think they would be. Because they didn't do that with Clone Wars, right? They did it.
No, but they did that with what's it called, Visions. So it's anybody's guess.
No one cared about that.
Well, some people liked Visions. It's getting a season 2, so enough people liked it enough to get a season 2.
Oh fuck, really?
Mm-hmm.
God damn it. Oh wait, no, Visions is. Well, I didn't watch Visions. The one I remember hating was Resistance. That was the one that I hated.
That one sucks.
Even you agree.
Well, we've had this conversation many times. Anything around the sequel trilogy era of content, I'm not gonna be a fan of.
Can I get your thoughts on something?
Yeah.
What do you think of porgs?
Porgs? They're okay. I mean, there's certain.
Do you think they're annoying like Ewoks are, or do you think they're worse or better than Ewoks?
I think they were made to be just like Ewoks, but I think that I probably would rather. I think Ewoks are more interesting, so I'd rather see an Ewok, but it just depends, kind of, because some people.
Do you think that porgs are just a cash grab?
Yeah, totally. It was them. They needed something cute, so they went with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Alright guys, welcome to the podcast. We are officially started. We're going to be getting into topics soon. Yep. You know, we did have a guest for you guys, but unfortunately it didn't work out with our time set. We'll try and get him in to the next one. We might have to adjust our time schedule. We're just going to see based on what our next weeks look like and see what's happening. I still got to find out to see what time Tales of the Jedi and what day it drops next week, but we will be talking about that next week. Today we have quite a mixture of topics. We're going to start with, do you want to even, did we do all our She-Hulk take last week? Or
yeah,
do
we
you
did.
want,
Yep, we did.
Okay, so we don't have to do any final thoughts on it, or everything's good? Okay, cool. Well then, we'll start off the bat with the new, we'll start off the bat with the new episode of Andor then. And then we'll get into our other topics, because we have quite a lot of other topics, but we'll start with Andor.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, so you want to go first on Andor? Because I think this will be a pretty brief one to talk about. Yeah.
Just really easy. I mean, not much. There wasn't a lot to it. It was very story heavy, but it was decent. A lot of good acting, a lot of good names.
Yeah, I didn't like it as much as I didn't like this episode as much as I liked last week, but I did think there was episodes in this. There was things in this episode that was good.
It wasn't supposed to be like a huge,
right?
Like captain. It was just another.
Yeah, the biggest compliment
to progress the story.
Yeah, the biggest compliment I'll give this episode was, I liked how deep they went into the politics on it.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was interesting. Yeah, that was interesting. I definitely think this episode was decent, and it was interesting, and going deeper into the Imperial routes, and I'm really digging the connection between the blonde female Imperial officer and the older guy.
Yeah, something's going on there. It's interesting. I don't know.
So here's what I see, right?
He definitely trusts her for some reason.
I think it's a hierarchy of power. So my theory on this is that all the white officials are, except for maybe Krennic, because we know Krennic is a different breed when we see him. I have a feeling that some of those specific officers might fall under Thrawn's jurisdiction later. I think there might be something where that rank of Imperial kind of has more of not that they directly know Thrawn or work with Thrawn, but that they have that cunning attitude like Thrawn, and that basically they kind of just understand what needs to get done. They're renegades and they do the job by breaking the rules and being loose with it, but they're still loyal followers of the Empire. I was kind of surprised. I was kind of surprised.
Just because.
No, I'm not thinking other people are gonna say that.
I'm just they wouldn't set it up in this series because that's
no, I'm not saying they're gonna set it up. I'm just saying it reminded me of kind of something I feel like Thrawn would do, so I mentioned it that way. But yeah, I don't think they'll set it up. I think it's gonna be just that way. But I think they're kind of in that attitude, that mentality of like they're go-getters, and they're willing to like. They clearly think they can both help each other. Like there's a reason they both can help each other, and I think that's the thing, is that there's gonna be more to that that's gonna be interesting. I mean, it's gonna be interesting because we still have a couple more episodes, so we'll have to see where everything kind of unfolds and where things go. But yeah, I definitely think it was a solid episode. There was some interesting stuff. All the stuff about the past with the troopers was interesting. I like that.
All I gotta say is the ending of the episode. Free my boy. He ain't do nothing.
Yeah, Andor needs to be freed, man. That's
free
for
Andor,
sure.
man. Free Andor.
Yeah. Hashtag free Andor needs to happen. They did him dirty, guys. I mean,
They did do him dirty. They did my boy so dirty.
It's just not cool, man. He's just trying to live life and be a tourist and do his thing, but it's disrespectful.
He just wants to sleep with women. That's what he wants.
Yeah. It's very disrespectful. But yeah, that's yeah, he just wants to live his life. He's trying to be safe and do his thing, and you guys just do him dirty and abduct him.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Just this last thing for the episode. Do you think he's gonna break out of jail himself, or do you think he's gonna get help from somebody?
I think he'll have a friend there.
What do you think will help?
Well, there's a couple ways. There's a couple things that could happen. This could either be the way that they set up K2SO, like maybe he's the other droid in there, and maybe they become friends, similar to a Chewie and Han situation, which I don't think is gonna happen because it seems too obvious. But I think he'll have a friend. I just don't know. Or my other take is because of what they were setting up in this last episode. They could have the girls that were looking for Andor when they found out that Clem is not Clem and is actually Andor. They might come looking for him, and that could lead to something.
They obviously set that up in the early in the episode, where they wanted us to know they're gonna go out. So
I didn't know that they were so deeply involved with the Senate. That kind of surprised me. Because you know, I mean, just because they're all renegades, you wouldn't expect them all to be involved in the Senate. They all seem like they had their own different paths. I was also kind of surprised that we got a Palpatine name drop a couple times in this episode.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, I would have thought, I really would have thought they would have had a group of Vader before they could even go to Palpatine. Because Palpatine
I would have thought,
like, top dog, like,
I would have thought they would have just called him, I would have thought they would have just called him the Emperor the entire time, like they did the one time, but they absolutely went the extra mile and called him, actual Emperor Palpatine, like that he actually spoke. When he said he actually spoke to him, I was like, what is this guy speaking to Palpatine about? Like, you'd think there'd be a more, like...
Yeah, man, not everyone gets to speak to Palpatine.
Like, here's what I'm wondering. What the fuck is Tarkin doing during this show?
That's
like,
what I'm thinking, yeah. Tarkin,
like...
Tarkin must be present. That also means that Krennic must be present, too, because he also has a direct line with Vader and Palpatine, so... We'll see what happens.
I wonder if these guys all work for Tarkin, and then maybe there's like a line where they all get certain assignments based on like maybe Tarkin was sick or something, and someone needed to fill in and do something.
I don't think so.
No, I'm just being funny.
That would be a lame excuse. Oh, hey guys, I'm back. I was I don't think so, but...
Oh yeah, no, it could be something. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe different assignment, or maybe Tarkin is with... Here's a better take. Maybe Tarkin is with, he's with Vader and Palpatine, and so, like, in the same location. So this location that they're, because Palpatine obviously, you got to remember Coruscant was very important to Palpatine. So things like in the Senate going on bad would definitely anger him. Hello there, FB. Welcome to the podcast. So what would happen if he was literally like his whole thing is crumbling? So he has these people he has to trust that are in charge of this. Because it's interesting that they focus on this specific group of security officers. That
yeah,
we assume.
I mean, I think that's it's definitely coming to something, or at least I think the only reason why we're focusing on this is because of the blonde lady. She obviously has some kind of huge role in all this.
Yeah, she's gonna be
revealed, but we're definitely gonna see what happens with her, because I think that's why they're focusing on this specific group, is because of her.
Yeah, there's something with her, and there's something between her and the guy that was trying to. I wasn't here last week, so I've had loaded with some questions. Oh, cool, FB, that's awesome.
That's great, man. We can get you after we're done talking about everything.
Yeah, we'll get
topics.
you.
So just sit there, stick tight.
Yeah, just sit tight. We'll get to you as soon as we're done with our topics, for sure. Alright, so I think it's a wrap on Andor. I mean, I feel like that's kind of the thing. It will get to where we expect it to go, and I think that's pretty cool.
Sure.
Thank you. Appreciate that, FB. Yeah, I feel like, okay, next up on the table, I guess we should cover. Let me see. I guess we'll get over to the major. See, we can get all of the major stuff done. I guess let's go straight to the Secret War stuff, considering that's kind of not gonna take that long, but it will be interesting to discuss it.
Alright.
I'll be back in 10 to 2. Alright, sounds good. 10 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes, no worries, man. Alright, so Secret Wars. So there's a report going around that they're gonna bring back previous heroes in the MCU, like Robert Downey Jr. is rumored, and Tony Stark, or as Tony Stark, and then Chris Evans could maybe be rumored, and now there's even more talk about John Krasinski coming back, which we kind of figured there'd be more talk, because it feels like they wanted more to happen with him. So that doesn't surprise me. And then of course there's the 3 Spider-Man rumor, which also connects to this. So what do you think about the fact that they might be bringing back other actors, even dead characters, but maybe they're just going to be doing different variants of those Avengers characters, or of those Marvel characters?
Well, I heard the report today that that Toby and Andrew were in talks to return in Secret Wars, and I think those are 2 obvious picks. Like, I think,
yeah, I guess let's talk.
They're perfect for like this kind of movie. The other characters, though, I mean, I think everyone liked John Krasinski as Steve, even though he was kind of stupid, but he's
my
still
thing.
A good, fantastic.
Here's my one thing I'll say is, and I don't know regards of what other characters they're planning on including. Like, I don't know what their main plan is, but what I will say is, and I talked about this in my video I filmed today as well. I do think that out of all the characters that could come back and could be a variant and could have an interesting part to play, I think Tony, played by Robert Downey Jr., is by far the most interesting choice because of his connection to Reed Richards. So I think that will be interesting if they go that route, is like having these 2 smart guys square off their brains will be pretty fun. And also, bringing Tony back means we get to fulfill my dream that I've wanted to see since the days of the comics. Which is, I was worried because Tony had died in Endgame. I was worried that we wouldn't see Iron Man versus Doctor Doom. But this could make that happen. So I'd be gladly happy to see Reed and Tony squaring off and having interesting banter, and then also seeing them deal with Doom. Because I think that would be cool. I think that would be...
Giving Chris Evans another chance, I think there's 2 things I definitely want to see there. One,
and the cool thing is with the variants is they can be so different, so you never know what they're going to be like. Like, Tony... Like, here's what I want. So here's what I think they should do. is you remember how there was all those rumors about certain cameos in Multiverse of Madness? It would be nice if they remedied some of the things that they had, but just switched up the actor plans. You know, like nobody wanted to see Tom Cruise's Iron Man. You know, like I don't think that would have been a satisfying cameo for people. Like it might have been fun depending on how they went for it, but I mean, it would have been interesting to see. Yeah, but I feel like people also would have rather seen another version of Tony Stark.
Well,
you know,
I don't agree. I think
you don't think so?
It's too early. If they put him in Multiverse of Madness, it would have been too early to bring him back. You
That's
still have
fair.
a few more years for Civil Wars, so it'll be enough.
It'll make sense. That's true.
Like, okay, we can see him as Iron Man now.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
They should have done Tom Cruise because, first of all, the version that they were planning on doing was Superior Iron Man. And Superior Iron Man's a complete dickhole. Like, he's a complete bastard to everybody.
Oh yeah, they could have played that great, yeah.
Not Robert Downey Jr. Would have been a smart idea.
Yeah, I think for that, I think Tom Cruise could have definitely, yeah, he could have pulled that off. I would have liked to seen that cameo for sure. I think that would have been great. Yeah, no, I agree. Oh, you heard some news for that FBA? Yeah, we're talking about that right now, is that there was major Secret Wars news that's at least being talked about now in regards to characters coming in and whatever, so it's pretty good stuff.
Wars, it's just I think basically it's just a huge toy box for Marvel to play with. They can put on pretty much anybody from any era they want. I'm not going to disappoint with whoever we get because the roster's pretty stacked. So
the only thing I'm a little worried about when it comes to Secret Wars is because this is Marvel's like biggest comic book storyline. When this is over, where does Marvel as a comic book place, or just in general, just as an IP, right? Where do you go after Secret Wars? Because people are like, oh, where do you go after Endgame? And then, you know, we still had Secret Wars in the back of our mind. But what do you think about after Secret Wars? The only other thing left is to do more things with the X-Men, but that won't be on a grander scale of, like... I can't think of any other Avengers storylines that are bigger than Secret Wars. I mean, they can always make up new things. I mean, it's possible, but... I just can't think...
I think definitely they're going to do something with the mutants after.
Yeah.
But I also think they can do stuff like they can do Civil War 2.
Yeah, that's true.
They can do like a new version of Civil War. They can do obviously House of M.
If they ever do that.
And then they can also do like anything like, you know we had to have like West Coast Avengers and New Avengers, Young Avengers. They can do stuff like that. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's definitely possible. Yeah, I guess that's the main stuff for Secret Wars. We're excited to hear more. There's reports going around about different things, but also remember, nothing's set in stone at this point because they haven't filmed it, they haven't done anything crazy, so all this is pretty much just being discussions right now. But it is exciting to see that they're having those conversations, I think. I think the next thing we want to talk about is... So there's, by the same reporters that is very reliable on Marvel stuff, they're also talking about, and I heard even more evidence of this, there's now even more evidence of Sacha Baron Cohen being cast as Mephisto in Ironheart. And there's even a description of what kind of the role is going to be, but it's not like a full, like, we don't know the full story. But it's basically just saying that, like, you know, the Hood kind of needs someone that is a supernatural entity that would help, like, and give him abilities and everything. And it says that a lot of people have been looking forward to Mephisto, and they've kind of made Mephisto a meme. So I think the fact that we're finally getting a Mephisto casting is pretty good. And also, the one thing we got to remember is a great thing about having a Mephisto introduced, even in a show like Ironheart, is that just means that Ghost Rider's got to be right around the corner. Because if you're doing Mephisto, Ghost Rider's not far behind. Like, so I think that's the number one thing is, I guess the big takeaways are, what do you think you're gonna, so, and I also heard, yeah, that's another example, FBE, you're right, about setting up a Galactus storyline after Secret Wars, that's possible.
Darth Vader, moving once again.
Yeah, I see, here's what I'll say about the Mephisto thing. So I heard a rumor about Ironheart as the show's main, like, not plot, but like the idea of the show, right? And the rumor I heard is that the show is gonna dabble between magic and science versus each other, you know? Like basically the idea of what's magic, what's science, you know, because, you know, Tony and Thor, they bickered about what was better, you know? And it sounds like the show might go into that. I've also heard that Mephisto might show up in the Agatha show as well. I've heard that there's some talks about him appearing. So if Ironheart is where he's at first, he could appear other places, which is good. I mean, making Mephisto a big villain is definitely a big thing to do. I mean, the thing with Mephisto is it depends how you use him, and what you do with him will be the interesting thing. We really can't really have an opinion on what to do with this Mephisto stuff because we don't know what they're gonna do fully. We can say, okay, do we think the actor will be interesting? Do we think it's gonna be a good fit? Sure, we'll have to wait and see. But in terms of the character, do we think that this is a weird show to put him in? Probably is, but we're not Kevin Feige. We're not the ones that can judge his work before we see it. You know, like, it's better to have it all out in front and then decide whether it's not good. You know, kind of like when we first watched She-Hulk. You know, watching She-Hulk, you know, we kind of knew that there was bad decisions, but like, we didn't judge it from the trailers. We waited till the show came out. So I think that's kind of the thing, is we gotta see the execution. We gotta see what we're really getting.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that's a big thing. You have any final thoughts on Mephisto?
Thank you. I don't like it.
You're worried?
Like the actor. I don't hate the actor. I think he's a good actor. I don't like that they chose that actor to play Mephisto because that's not who I would personally pick to play Mephisto. Like, if you know who Mephisto is.
Right,
you know
but let's also
is.
Remember that the MCU rarely misses on its casting, so... Not always, but there's a lot of good casting that we got.
It used to. But nowadays, you get subpar actors to play subpar roles.
That's true.
And then you get, and sometimes they don't really care. Like, take Taskmaster, for example. They fucked them up. What's stopping them from fucking Mephisto up?
That's true.
I mean,
that's true. I mean, you would hope that because it's such a big character that they wouldn't, but
yeah,
you never know.
But then they go ahead and cast the guy who's Borat. Like,
well, honestly, I was having this. I didn't want to bring this conversation on the podcast, but I think I will. Honestly, I was having a conversation with a couple of my friends today, and something we were talking. What do you say?
You have friends?
Yeah, I do. and we were talking, and something I was hearing a lot of conversation about was people were talking about DC and Marvel's futures and what they're more excited about. I'm getting a lot more positive feedback for what people think DC will do in the future than what people think Marvel's going to do in the future. And I thought that was very interesting to see, because when I think of the conversation, the more I look at it, right, and we look at things that we're heading towards the future and heading towards things, and even just thinking about our conversation, you, me, and, well, I guess it's not really a conversation because Aiden was the one that was talking, right? But the one thing that I disagree with in, like, previous conversations and, like, stuff in these sort of things when people bring up topics like that is the fact that you know, I definitely don't think that DC needs to be more digestible. You know, they have their thing, and that's cool. And really, what I think is great about DC right now is, if you look at the Batman, no matter what way you look at it, it was a comic book film, and people loved that. Like, yeah, it was a bit more deeper than some other things, but if you really think of it, it's a true Batman comic book film. Like, it feels like a Batman movie, and then it doesn't at the same time. But I mean, that was really cool. Definitely FBE. Yeah, I agree. Like, and it's just really cool to see. I just think that they could be, if they play their cards right, they could be into some very exciting things, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Because we're going to talk about Man of Steel 2, and also we're going to talk about the other exciting DC projects to look ahead to.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I hate to admit it, I think DC definitely beat Marvel this year. When you look at the grand scheme of things, they definitely beat them. But overall, if we're talking about the next few years, I'm more excited to see what Marvel has than what DC has. But I think DC is probably going to produce better quality stuff than Marvel.
That's a good way to look at it, yeah.
We'll see. But if you were to ask me, would I rather have like 5 DC films right now versus would I rather have 5 Marvel? I would definitely choose Marvel, just because I'm more excited to see what Marvel has in store for their whole universe.
I mean, I'm excited to see what they do, but I was talking to this with my fiance, and what we were talking about was, I think Marvel has all these characters that a lot of people know, and they're familiar with knowing. Where DC has this whole, if you talk in terms of a multiverse, DC has these whole sets of characters that a lot of people don't know, and they get to play with that sandbox a little bit within reason, you know, like, and Black Adam's going to be the beginning of that, and I think that's going to be really cool.
Well, I feel like some things kind of having Marvel, like not everybody knew who Moon Knight was.
No, that's true.
Marvel or Shield,
but they're getting to the point where a lot of their characters, a lot of people know at least something of them, where there's conversations.
People know who Black Adam is. He's not like
no, Black Adam. I'm not talking about Black Adam. There's other like C-list and other characters that people don't know of that are in Black Adam that I'm talking about.
Oh, in Black Adam, yeah, like Cyclone.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going with it. It's just the characters that will introduce.
DC is starting to go the route that Marvel's going, where they're doing the same thing with they're introducing Blue Beetle. Not a lot of people know who Blue Beetle is.
That's true.
People should get an introduction in.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's true. I think that's true, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think both will be good, but I just feel like Marvel has to really get some really big hitters again to win the eye of the public back, because people are kind of, especially after Marvel, people are kind of shaken in some of these Disney Plus nonsense shows that they've put out have not put good taste in people's mouths. And I think a lot of people really wanted Thor to be amazing. And I think the fact that Taika Waititi didn't make a movie that was
oh my God,
what people wanted. What?
Is that embarrassing? I forgot that Thor came out this year.
That's sad. I mean, it's fine. I mean, it makes sense. We all make mistakes.
I feel so bad, dude. I actually, like, I don't hate Love and Thunder, but I don't think it's as good as Ragnarok. I mean,
exactly, yeah.
I would put it a little bit over the Thor one, but not for that much. I just it's a mixed film for me. It feels like too many things.
Do you know what's really weird right now? You know, I saw The Rock made an interesting comment about Black Adam, and I thought this was really interesting when he said he compared Black Adam to almost like a Phase 1 movie of Marvel, because he was talking about how basically, you know, this is gonna start things differently, and like, he's kind of right when you think of like where the DCU was and is, and then now where we're starting out with the new characters and these new stories, and then of course with a certain character cameoing that could set up the future in a pretty interesting way. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to reveal it if people haven't heard of it. I know that I know most of the internet has, but I didn't want to be that guy.
Spoiler, it's actually Robert Pattinson's the Batman.
Yeah, that'd be something, right? It's really just Robert Pattinson.
I'm gonna bring you in.
Oh gosh, that'd be crazy. No, no, we're talking about your boy Henry Cavill. You know, it's all good. But yeah, which we'll talk about with Man of Steel 2. But I don't know. I just feel like he's got a point because like Marvel is at the phase where they've built their world. Now they kind of got to do this thing of like build up these new storylines from their world, you know, where DC has the opportunity to show new beginnings, you know, like Peacemaker was fun because it was just kind of them playing around with what was in the DCEU, you know, like let's make fun of Batman, let's make fun of these things, and I'm Peacemaker and I'm an asshole, and that's what I do,
but it totally works.
But now we're going to get introduced to that world because I think people forget when we got the Batman, we were introduced to an entire world that was not the DCEU. Like, if you really think about it, the last time we were in the DCEU is, I guess, Wonder Woman 1984, right? Because there wasn't... Because we don't consider...
Technically, it's the Snyder Cut. That was the last time we were in the DCU.
Yeah, but we don't... But most people don't consider the Snyder Cut to even be canon to the DCU because their visions are different. Like, I just feel like DC's never gonna make that known that the Snyder Cut is... Like, they'll admit it's real, but I don't think they'll ever make it canon to anything beyond a continuation Snyder thing if it ever happens, you know? Like, for instance, if we're gonna go on that topic and we're gonna talk about all the big thing, I think when everyone heard that there'd be a Man of Steel 2, I think everybody was like, yeah, Zack Snyder's coming back to direct Superman, it's gonna be awesome. But I guarantee you Zack Snyder's not gonna direct that movie. I mean, he could, but I don't think so.
I don't know, dude. I think they're missing. They have a huge missed opportunity if they don't bring back Zack.
But here's the reason they don't bring back Zack.
The only reason people want it, because the only reason they want Man of Steel 2 is because Zack Snyder directed the first movie, and they loved it so much.
But I think they have to remember that right now, the thing that... See, here's the thing I believe in, okay? There's a good director, and then there's a good actor that can work well with other directors if you have a good script and a good director attached to it, you know? And I don't feel like Zack Snyder's vision is what the DCEU needs. And that's kind of the problem we run into, is because while Man of Steel was a great film, there's this big divide now because even if Zack Snyder does come back, he has to make his peace with not pleasing the Snyderverse fans, and then two, he also has to deal with the situation of like, how does this fit into this world? You know, like, I'm not saying he couldn't come back, he totally could, but the problem is, if he does come back, then we're going to give power to that, because that fandom is becoming quite toxic. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the conversations, but there is a huge... Yeah. There is a huge thing going on with the Snyderverse people that because they don't think they're going to get their wish, right? They're review bombing every DC thing. So, like, they literally... there was a thing in one of the trailers for Black Adam, and they had to edit it out where it showed the DCEU and it showed footage from Batman vs Superman and stuff, and then they showed footage from Justice League stuff, and it wasn't the Snyder. There was an inkling of some Snyder footage, and they had to remove it because the outburst online was just atrocious. And so it's one of those things that, like, it's horrible, but people have kind of ruined things that could happen, which really sucks. Like, I think still from a directing standpoint, yeah, absolutely Zack Snyder could come back and it would be awesome. I'll be surprised if he does, though, because he was under so much stress. Even just coming back for the Snyder Cut. You have to imagine, like, look at what the man's doing now. He's doing these Netflix movies. He's busy doing other things. I just don't know if he would I mean, it depends if he really, if he still feels dedicated to the character, because I saw a bunch of people talking about recently how a lot of these directors have, a lot of people at Warner Brothers, they have like Matt Reeves has secret projects, James Gunn has secret projects they're working on, like whoever's working on Man of Steel, either we're not going to know for a long time or it's already decided, you know, like
they gotta get a kick-ass director though. I mean,
no, I'm sure they will.
I don't know. It's frustrating for me because I hate that Warner Bros. Did nothing with that girl. Because I mean, then again, if they never did that, we wouldn't have we probably wouldn't even have a lot of the stuff we do now, like Peacemaker. But at the same time, it's frustrating because I don't think anybody could make a Man of Steel 2 better than Zack Snyder. Like a follow-up movie to Man of Steel 1.
Yeah, I just hate that they've made
the best director on earth, and it just wouldn't be as good.
Well, I think that's the thing, is we can't compare this, that this is going to be
I mean, the movie hasn't even been, it's kind of been greenlit, but it hasn't even started pre-production yet, and I already know it's probably going to be an inferior from the first movie.
Well, here's the thing, I don't think we ever want to be that level, because that's the thing that we need to get to realization is, my one problem with the whole Snyderverse vision is that Zack Snyder's plan, his universe was to kill everyone. Like, his universe was to end with his set of Justice League movies, and then it was capped off. Like, you did know that, right? That was his plan? Like, he was gonna kill Batman in the second movie, and then it'd continue forward. It was just gonna be an evil Superman trilogy. Like, to me, that just doesn't seem like a good thing that people want to see with the DC property, you know? Like, with these characters.
But at least it's his vision, though. At least it's his vision.
No, yeah, and I'm not denying his vision.
Warner Bros. Bullshit that they just put together.
But yeah, but DC as a company, I feel, as an IP, as someone who's dedicated to making these characters and doing things with these characters, they would want something better. And they want to be able to do... That's their thing. I believe that everything that went down with the Snyderverse went down because Zack Snyder came in with an idea, and his idea was a great idea for someone like Zack Snyder, just trying to make his version of a comic book movie, right? That's great. For a collective like what DC's striving to be, if you pay attention to any of the conversations on what goes on behind the scenes at DC, they want what Marvel has, but not what Marvel has, if that makes sense. You know, they want success.
They used to want what Marvel has, but now they've realized that they can do a bunch of different stuff without having to have the same form as Marvel, and it's still being successful. And I think
I think that's great. Yeah,
that code, and now they're moving forward with whatever.
But here's the thing: like they want. They can do things like Shazam and Aquaman and all these cool things, and all those things can tie in. But if say something were to happen, where something amazing, where like we're gonna get like a Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 or something, there's no way they could fold in these other. Because the problem is the Snyder Cut has kind of put us in a tough situation, because people liked Ray Fisher's Cyborg in that movie. Ray Fisher's Cyborg is gone, is not coming back to DC. We might be able to get Henry Cavill's Superman back, but I do not think we're going to get Ray Fisher back. That would be crazy to see happen. And then, on the other hand, you know, one of the other things that people liked was the handling of Ezra Miller's Flash in that movie. But here's the thing. Nobody wants to deal with Ezra Miller right now. So it just feels like that movie is creating more problems.
I think one way or another, one point or another, and we both know this, the Flash movie is coming out with Ezra Miller.
Oh yeah, it is. Oh yeah, it is.
And I have a way that Snyder fans can get their way, and the DCU can move on. And it's just called the Flash movie. Make it so the Snyderverse is a point in time where, yes, the Justice League do lose, and they all die out eventually. Let's say Flash is the last one remaining, right?
Yeah.
You can just do a whole Flashpoint thing and create and go into a different multiverse. Or
yeah, if they touch
bullshit, right?
If
and
they touch the Snyderverse, then that'd be great.
The actual DC universe that we know right now.
The thing that sucks is I feel like we'll be able to accept that the Snyderverse accepts it there in like a pocket dimension, and that'll be cool. I feel like the Snyderverse will be like, oh, you're gonna acknowledge it so that you can just put it to bed and not listen to us, and that's gonna be this problem. Is they're not gonna, the Snyderverse people are always gonna be a problem. They're never gonna stop. Like, they're review bombing. They're
yeah, but what the fuck do they
rude.
want? Like, what the fuck do they want though? Like, they know how it's gonna end.
They're so obsessed with Zack taking over everything. They think Zack is a god and that he needs to take over everything, and that he should do. They're basically a cult. Like, they're not called Snyder fans. They're called the Snyder cult. Like, I don't know if you know that or not, but that's what they're called because
honestly,
because of their way they act.
Here's like, Snyder fans are gonna go crazy. But here's the thing, personally, me, give Man of Steel 2 to Zack Snyder, and then that's it for him. He's done after that, like, no more.
I mean, yeah, I could see that if he makes it, if he's able to make it separate and make it about this universe and make it about, like, it can be his vision, but it has to fit within the plan. You know, like, it has to be a part of what DC wants their new model to be.
Here's what I think. That Man of Steel 2 should just take place right after Justice League.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's literally all you have to do. And then you could also tie it in with Black Adam.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
That's really all you have to do. It doesn't have to be the Snyderverse. You can just, I mean, the DCEU, the Justice League movie, or the Justice League movie, is still technically a sequel to Man of Steel. So it's in the same universe, right? It doesn't have to be after Zack Snyder's Justice League. It can just be after Joss Whedon's Justice League.
Yeah.
Because technically it's the same universe. So that's my thought. Make Man of Steel 2, give it back to Zack Snyder. That can be his last movie. And then after that, he'll say la vie, whatever. Right? That's what I think.
We will have to see what they do, honestly. I mean, I think people at this point, from what I'm hearing, are just happy to see that Henry Cavill's going to come back, and that's enough for a lot of people, knowing that he's going to be... Because here's the thing I heard. I heard old Warner Brothers didn't give a shit about Superman. Like, they didn't want to do anything with him, and they were willing... apparently, the reason we didn't see Superman is, I don't know if you knew about this. Old Warner Brothers, same ones that were had their hands all dirtied up from the Justice League fiasco, because of all the nonsense they allowed on set, right? They were gonna fire Henry.
I thought they already did.
Yeah, that's the thing, they did. But it was gonna go deeper, apparently. Apparently they were gonna, like, try and blacklist him and do his, like, horrible things to him. Because they were a horrible vision, and they were not only what the company didn't need, but they were scum on the earth, pretty much. And so... apparently what I heard was when The Rock came over to do his whole bit and work on Black Adam, there was conversations, and I guess he basically said that and New Warner Brothers had this goal in mind too, they weren't going to do Black Adam unless they could get Superman back. So, a lot of things have been riding on Superman coming back, and I think that's a crazy thing, is that old DC, like, they just would not let that happen. They did not want Superman back in any capacity. And I think that's crazy. It's really stupid. It's really stupid that they would do that. But yeah, I'm hopeful. I think, I mean, Henry seems excited to come back, and that's great, because he loves the character. He's shown it several times. I think whoever does it, whatever their vision is, I'm very confident with this current leadership of DC, because as much as things like Batgirl being canceled were irritating,
still hurts.
It does still hurt, but there are other things that are happening that DC has done that have been very smart decisions. Like, I think half of HBO Max's success you have to literally owe to what DC has done with their properties. You know, like, if you really look at, like, the things that are really have really thrived on HBO Max, it's been those original DC contents. You know? It's things like Doom Patrol, Titans, Stargirl, the budget that we got for Superman and Lois, Peacemaker for one. Like, those are the things that really have excelled. Like you would think Peacemaker would be a no-win situation, amazing. It would at least have been just a fun show because of James Gunn being an incredible director, you know? But that show turned into something so far beyond than just like a Deadpool, James Gunn, Suicide Squad spinoff thing. It was so much more. And that's why it's getting a season 2. Because there's so much more story to tell, there's so much more intrigue for it, and people love it. They love Peacemaker, even though they didn't think they would. Like, and there's more characters to explore. I mean, for crying out loud, even freaking Amanda Waller and Hardcore are going to be in Black Adam. So, they're clearly confident enough with those characters that they want to keep doing things with them. And I think that's what's really cool, is that these things have come out and they really have built this model of what they think stands for. And unfortunately, as much as I think it's stupid that they scrubbed all the footage of it, because I think they should have salvaged it for their own reasons. For whatever reason, DC believed that Batgirl movie did not work with their current universe. And we'll never know the reason why, but I'm hopeful for the things that we know we are getting will turn into good success for DC. Like, I think that the things that they're setting up, I think the things that we know they're doing, like Blue Beetle, like Peacemaker Season 2, like Batman 2, that's a really good model for DC to have, because they have these things that, and you got Matt Reeves over there, like, also DC's kind of doing what Marvel's doing that I really like, is they're bringing in a bunch of different creative talents that can do things and do things differently. Like, even though we're gonna have to wait for it for a little bit, because we won't get it till next year, I'm quite intrigued the more and more I hear about Aquaman 2. Even with the stuff with even with the nonsense with Amber Heard, the movie sounds like, from what James Wan's put together, it sounds incredible. You know, like what he's got planned, and like there's been quite a bit of information I've read about it that sounds very promising.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. I mean, it looks like it also looks like he's not just trying to remake the first movie. It looks like he's trying something different. And I think that's really cool to see. And I don't know, I'm hopeful for, and something I think about that's kind of interesting, this is a weird comparison, but something I was thinking about the other day, right, was I realized when I was a kid, I loved Marvel because, you know, you look at Spider-Man, you look at all these characters and it fills your heart with joy, right? But you look at DC, and even though this is a way different example because this is much darker than the other, I look at DC kind of the same way I look at The Boys, you know? There's that part of,
we're gonna go this direction.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, certain people would want a little bit more maturity in their storyline. I'm not comparing the two in like this,
but I mean,
I just feel like some of the things,
Superman is so corny and goofy.
He can be, yes, and that's totally fine. But what I'm talking about was, like, there's things, for instance, we'll get Deadpool at Marvel.
Mature, man. Have you seen Spider-Man 2? That shit was dark.
No, but here's the thing. We've seen the darkest that Marvel is willing to go because Disney has rules that they're not willing to break.
That's different. That's Disney. I'm talking about like the older stuff. It's actually pretty dark.
Well, no, I'm talking about the current stuff. I'm talking about where we're headed. That's where my fear is. You
Yeah,
look
but
at
then
things
you
like
have
Miss
properties
Marvel, you
like
look
Blade,
at...
you have...
Blade's gonna be
you have
PG-13
these
though. They're making it PG-13. It's not gonna be R.
Yeah, but they're making everything for DC PG-13 too.
They're making what, PG-13?
They're making everything for DC PG-13 too.
Yeah, but they're willing to push things. So here's the thing. Let's remember, the Batman, they pushed that rating to perfection. And then it sounds like Black Adam's going to do a similar thing. So, honestly, I feel like I'm worried about Marvel because Marvel's version of a PG-13 rating...
Like Marvel's going to be doing R2 soon with Deadpool 3.
Only Deadpool. There's been no other R-rated properties announced except for Deadpool. Because they're not willing to take the chance. That'd be like if DC's like, only Peacemaker's gonna be rated R. But I guarantee you Peacemaker will not be the only rated R property. There will be other things that are rated R. It just... Marvel has too many rules. And, well, not Marvel. Disney has too many rules. And because they want so much money, then they want the kiddos to be involved. They gotta make some adult like light beer. They gotta make light adult content. They don't make the full picture. And that's gonna be a little disappointing for things like... I'm not gonna lie, I can't believe I was gonna say this. I'm getting a little nervous for Daredevil Born Again right now. Especially after rumors I heard about...
Say that, Joe. You would say that.
No, I mean, I heard rumors about She-Hulk being in Born Again. It makes me a little nervous.
Well, I heard that too, but she is. Why would she be in Born Again?
I'm just being truthful, man. I mean, I'm a huge fan of some of these comic characters, but if you look at the track records of these characters in the comics and you look at the MCU is not what a lot of people want it to be. And that makes me very nervous. I mean, it's very concerning when you're looking at these different properties and you're looking at what's happening with some storylines and things. Like, it just, I don't know. I'm worried of the direction because they let things like She-Hulk and you can't blame She-Hulk and Miss Marvel on the pandemic because there was issues with the story writing, not just with the way it looked. You know, somebody sat in the Marvel office and approved those projects.
It was so good. You know
and you know who that
Marvel,
man was?
Fuck DC, fuck Star Wars. I'm excited for Transformers Rise of the Beast.
Are you actually? Are you just trolling?
I actually am. I mean, I heard a lot of good things about the movie.
Oh, I think it would be cool. Yeah. No, I'm down for it. I liked Bumblebee. I think it will be cool. I'm digging it. I think it's gonna be pretty cool.
Listen, here's my thought. Whatever happens with any movie that comes out, it's out of our control. We can't do anything, but we just gotta trust you behind it. If it turns out to be shit, it's shit. You know what? We move on and we go to the next movie.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all, man. I'm just trying to, like, it's so hard to be in the in-between. I'm getting to the point where, like, it's like you can like both, but sometimes, you know, like Thanos said, balance is all things should be, you know? And some people need to kind of find that balance. I don't want to be so half and half on one and then half and half on the other. I want to know where I stand, you know, because it's just like I feel like if I lean too much on the one.
I don't lean towards Marvel or DC more. I mean, maybe more Marvel just because Spider-Man, I've heard superhero, and I've always loved Marvel from the beginning.
Right.
But my thought is, both have their own strengths, both have their own weaknesses.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm gonna watch a movie, I'm gonna review it. If I think
that's
it's
true.
shit, I'm gonna tell them the shit. I'm not gonna pretend
right.
like I'm saying
but I think if we're looking, the only thing that we have to remember when looking at Marvel is has built an entire world, right? And now their task is, how do they keep this? My problem with Marvel is they want themselves to still be so relevant that they want to bring in the appeal of the younger audiences and people that have never even been considered to be Marvel fans, they want to make Marvel fans, you know? And in order to do that, they have to change things around and make things, what's the word? There's a word for it. Susceptible for everybody, you know? And I don't know if I'm down with that, because something that's really weird is I thought Kevin Feige said once that when he was asked about the movies, right? He didn't care if people hadn't seen. He said something, well, like, oh, if you haven't seen so-and-so movie, then, you know, we're not really concerned about the general audience. But now he feels like he's kind of sucking the general audience's dick. You know, like, it feels weird to me.
I don't know. I don't like. I mean, it's whatever. It's a decision. At the end of the day, we call the shots. But
all I'll say is, I hope that Phase 4 pays off in Phase 5 and 6. Like, I hope they really make a way to make it pay off.
Stay away from these people.
Because right now, I'm not feeling the payoff. And I think it would be nice if it did pay off. Like, it's kind of weird. I mean, but like you said, you know, you review something and you see it by itself. The only problem is it's so hard to review something separately from Marvel when all their storylines and their things are meant to be connected. You know, like when you review She-Hulk, She-Hulk being bad reflects the entire MCU. It does not just reflect. So this is the thing that's interesting, right? DC right now, if Black Adam is a bad movie for someone, it's not DC sucks, it's Black Adam was just not a good movie, you know? Marvel, oh, She-Hulk sucked. Okay, crap. That's not good for the MCU. Oh, Miss Marvel wasn't good. Oh, that's not good for the MCU. Well, yeah, but here's the thing. Their universe isn't built fully yet because they have to rebuild. So, like, if this movie is a dud, maybe they just have to set a few different things. I don't think it will be a dud, but I'm just saying if they had to do something, it was just a hypothetical example. But right now, Marvel has a lot. Obviously, DC can't screw up as much as Marvel because Marvel's already built their world. But like, in terms of, like, you look at Marvel now, you think of the MCU as its own storyline all together with all these characters. So like, you look at these individual projects for those, they don't feel individual, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's the word that I would use the best. What's better, Scooby-Doo or Ghostbusters? For me, I love Ghostbusters. Interesting question. They both are good for different reasons. My friend Michael sent something in the chat about it. Yeah, I would. What? He asked us a question.
If you're gonna respond to a comment during the podcast, you have to like say it out loud so I can hear.
Sorry, my bad. I was just reading it. It says, "What's better, Scooby-Doo or Ghostbusters?" But for me, I love the Ghostbusters.
I gotta go Ghostbusters. I mean, Scooby-Doo's cool, whatever, but I gotta go Ghostbusters, man.
I grew up with Scooby-Doo, but I would say Ghostbusters are pretty cool.
Can't go wrong with Bill Murray, man.
Alright, I think FBE, if you're ready to ask your questions, I think we're ready for your questions.
Yeah. While we wait though, I do have, I don't know if you saw, but the tomato score has been revealed for Black Adam.
I'm pissed about it because I read
53% right now.
And I read why. I read why.
Reviews. I'm hearing what I'm hearing mostly is that there's great action, but the story and the characters suck. What do you take on that? So on like the days leading up to Black Adam, we're gonna be seeing it in a couple days. What are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are I'm excited for the movie, and I'm not trusting any review until I see the movie myself and get to make my own opinion, because I would like to remind the public that Black Widow and other MCU movies here's the thing I don't like, okay? And we can point the finger, but Rotten Tomatoes is an algorithm. I get it, right? But at the end of the day, Rotten Tomatoes is more kind to Marvel than it is to DC. I would also like to make the note that Thor: Love and Thunder has a decently high rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So
for being a very mid movie.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just saying.
Well, I'm not gonna say very mid.
I would also like to remind the crowd that Rotten Tomatoes also gave Miss Marvel and She-Hulk 90s and 80s scores. And there was a day when Miss Marvel was actually at 100 at one point. So in the very beginning.
Weird. And you know what? Compare that to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's a much. I mean, Obi-Wan, as flawed as it is a much better show than Miss Marvel.
Exactly. That's what I'm telling you. So, like, when I hear these things from Rotten Tomatoes, here's what I say about that. I don't listen to. Fuck you. I don't agree with any of it. Because one, I haven't seen it, and two, I guarantee that even if I have problems with it, I'll probably at least be able to enjoy it, to at least give it like at least a solid C. I would say like maybe for me, a low rating for me is probably like if we're doing percentage, I'd say 60 or 70 would be a bit more fair. You know, like 50 is a little low for something that I don't think will be that bad.
There's no way, even from the previews, there's no way I can rate this movie like less than like a 50. Like,
yeah.
I could give, like, at most, I think my prediction, this movie is going to be at least 3 stars. There's no way I'm going to give it like 2, because rewatchability for me is like, if it has at least 3 stars, I can rewatch the movie. If it
and
has
also,
any less than
this is the other problem I see too, right? This is once again back into that Phase 1 problem of things. Not every movie in Phase 1 of Marvel had a good story. For instance,
which one did you?
I was gonna say the first Thor, but I mean, I guess there's another.
That had a good story.
Yeah. Oh, you like the story in Thor 1? Okay.
I did. I think the only one that didn't have a good story was Iron Man 2, just because there was a lot of different things happening at once. Like, you had the whole, like, alcohol issue.
Yeah.
And then you had the whole him recruiting Natasha for some reason.
But here's the other thing we also have to remember. Iron Man 2 still ended up being a fun movie, and you still remember it as a fun movie to this day.
That was the only one where the story was kind of wacky.
That's what I'm going to say, though. Like, but would you rather have... Here's my question. Would you rather have... Because for me, with DC's biggest issue I think like they ran into in the long run was their movies, as much as I enjoyed Batman vs. Superman, they made too many of their movies. They didn't have a good balance of their tone, you know? They went just straight for the dark and edgy take, but they didn't go with, like, a consistent tone, you know? Like, it didn't feel like some stories you can do, but also have some fun humor moments in it. Or not even that, but some characters are lighthearted and some characters have darker stories. So tone is everything. I would much rather have from DC, especially after seeing things like Shazam, I'd much rather have an entertaining DC movie than a shit boring DC movie. You know? Like, what if Black Adam had a plot, but what if the plot was... Let's think, what's an example? What if the plot was just not fun, or not good, or not even interesting at all, right? And honestly, in terms of plot, I didn't really expect much plot from a Black Adam movie. Maybe that's wrong of me to say, but I kind of just expected a bunch of crazy action and a fun movie that would set the tone for kind of where DC is going without getting into the meat and potatoes of everything. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Adam,
like
you don't need to go super crazy for Black Adam. Like, he's not a complex character. You need to, like, I mean, He's an anti-hero. He knows what's.
I mean, let's
wrong,
be real. Let's be real. If you're not seeing this movie to watch The Rock kill hundreds of people and shoot lightning at them, then I don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
And you're not seeing it for Dr. Fate and like
Wayne Johnson playing a fucking bastard. I don't know what you're still doing.
I mean, literally the best thing I heard about this movie so far was one of the critics just said that, like, the movie has internal struggle. Like, they're trying to turn him good, but he just wants to kill a bunch of people. And I'm like, you're mad that Black Adam wants to... You're mad that Black Adam wants to kill a bunch of people? He's Black Adam. He's not an anti-hero. He's a supervillain. It's like, I'm down with that shit. Are you kidding me?
Dwayne has been, like, promoting him as an anti-hero, but that's only because he's in this one movie. After this movie, he's not an anti-hero now.
They want, in his beginning, they want him to sound like an anti-hero because then, like, they don't want you to know he's a piece of shit yet until he becomes, like, this unstoppable menace. So, like, because they want to show you, they want you to kind of sympathize with him at first, and then, when you realize he's a piece of shit, then you actually like him being a piece of shit. Like, you like that he's gonna be this great villain, so you're down with it.
Exactly.
Like, I love the one line in the trailer when Hawkman looks at him and they're staring him down. He's like, "Heroes don't kill people," and he's like, "I do."
Well, I do. That's awesome, dude. He's like, "Fuck yeah, dude!" Like, yeah, he does. Like, what are you gonna do? Say stop?
And I'm glad that
you are not gonna stop Black Adam.
And I'm glad that Batman. I'm glad that we're getting Black Adam finally shutting up the Batman argument finally, of just like, oh yeah, we can't kill people. No. He's like, bitch, I am killing people. I do not care. Like,
oh yeah, Black Adam is killing some fools in this movie.
And honestly, like, I've heard people use the term popcorn movie, and I'm like, I'm down with the popcorn movie because it's Black Adam. I didn't want to play this card because I didn't want to be an asshole, but I heard that the CGI in this movie is miles better than half of Phase 4 combined. So I didn't want to play that card because I didn't want to be that savage, but hey, I guess I played that card. I wasn't using that movie's as I didn't say I wasn't using when I said an entirety of CGI.
I know, but wait, hold on. Can we agree that the Multiverse of Madness had the best CGI in Phase 4?
It did, at times. There were a couple times where it looked wonky, but for the most part, it did.
Wait, when? I mean, other than maybe like the eyeball part, but like that's.
Yeah, I mean, they were. I would have to really nitpick to look at it, but I'm sure I could find something that was a bit faulty.
Even Shang-Chi didn't even have as good a CGI.
That I can agree with. Although I liked how Shang-Chi used its CGI. So, that's what I will say.
Tal-Lo looked amazing, but like when Shang-Chi was riding that dragon, you could tell it was a green screen. Like, you could tell it was like, okay.
I didn't care because we're seeing Shang-Chi riding a dragon, and that's all I needed to know. So I didn't give it was green screen or not, like, at that point, because when you're invested in that world and you just, like, that just feels it for you. No, I feel like with Black Adam, it's not going to be a top-tier movie, and that's okay. It's going to be a movie that starts out, like, I'm sure I'm going to love the hell out of it. Like, I'll probably give it, if I give it 3 stars, I'll be happy with it. It will be better than Halloween Ends, I can guarantee that. It will be...
Dude, anything's gonna be better than Halloween Ends. Halloween Ends breaking... Should we talk about that movie? I don't know what to say, but holy shit, that movie sucked.
Dude, the whole two killers thing was stupid. The fact that he was not even in the movie nearly until the end, and then he doesn't even feel like Michael was so stupid.
Too. They made Michael such a pussy too, because he literally loses a fight to some new guy who's never killed anybody before, and was a pussy before, and then he goes out like a bitch. He goes out like a 3-minute fight and then just gives up.
Yeah, the director had no idea what he was doing. It was stupid.
No, they didn't. No, it wasn't the director, baby. I think it was whoever wrote the script. Well, they're like, okay, so how do we pick up after kills? can we just make up a bunch of bullshit, and then the last 20 minutes of the script will just be Laurie fighting Michael again, and then she kills him somehow. The end.
Honestly, just looking at the trailers for this movie, you could tell that they just, like, they did not care what they were making. They had no love and care into it. Like at least here's the thing I'll say. Say what you will, like, say whatever people say about, what they'll say about Black Adam, whatever they think it's going to end up being. You can't deny that The Rock and Warner Brothers tried to pour their heart and soul into making this movie.
Yeah. And especially when it comes down to marketing the movie, they want people to see this film. Like, this is Dwayne's baby. This is his child project. This has been in the works for almost 10 years now. I mean, what else can you say about this? What more can you say about this movie? I mean, it's Black fucking Adam, man. Everyone's excited to see this movie. Well, not everyone, but most people are.
I wonder if FB actually is coming back or if he's just left. My fiance just told me it was 4 a.m. So I guess, guys, yeah, final thoughts on Black Adam. We're excited to see it. We'll let you guys know next week what we think of it. But I think we're going to wrap here because I don't know. It is 4 a.m. and I don't think FB is going to come back. Otherwise, we'd hear from him from now. But, yeah, guys, thanks for coming to the podcast. We're all going to bed. I'm seeing Black Adam literally... If today's Wednesday, I'm seeing it tomorrow technically, so yeah, should be awesome. Thanks guys for coming in. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week. Take care, man.